welcome to Framework and the second part of our Knights of the Old Republic episode, or part two. We're doing the second half. Yeah.
Not to be confused with our Knights of the Old Republic 2 episode, which will be coming in a scant, 8 or 9 months, given how we've been doing so far.
Yeah, I'm John. That's Al. You should have heard the first episode before you heard this one, regardless. But we are here to talk about Knights of the Old Republic. We had just been discussing where did we leave off?
Twist.
The big twist. Turns out you were Revan all along. It's the greatest twist in video games. Maybe it's a massive turning point for the game. Is where everything snaps into place, and you're just like, oh, okay, we get it now, and it propels you into Act 3.
We were also talking last time about how there are not a ton of permutations. Like, there are only 2 endings for this game. There's a dark side or a light side path, and how it's kind of amazing that either of them work. This is where it locks into place that, okay, it makes total sense if you revert to the dark side now, feeling like you have, one, it was sort of always your destiny if you already turned to the Dark Lord of the Sith previously, and now you're extra mad that the Jedi Council were manipulating you. I think it also works even better if you're trying to now atone for your misdeeds in the past and stay on the light path, despite having these extra reasons to go dark.
It's amazing. Either version is an excellent Star Wars story. Yeah. If you do the good version, it is this incredible thing about how there remains good in everyone, just like the Darth Vader story, the original trilogy. You can always change. There is always a path towards the light. If you do the dark version, it is the single best story about an evil character in Star Wars.
Maybe one of the best incarnations of the thing they're always trying to play with, which is the just sort of hubris of the Jedi Order, and thinking they know better than anyone about everything, and that they can not learn from their mistakes. They can also not learn from your mistakes, but they can force you to almost learn from your mistakes. They think they can, and they can't. Anyway, we have a whole other planet still to do after this revelation, and it could be any of the 4 planets. The one we have not talked about yet is Korriban, which is the Sith homeworld, headquarters world, where they have their whole Sith training facility, and you have to go there and infiltrate the Sith training facility and get them to take you on as a potential new recruit. And you can do that either as a sincerely dark side guy or as an undercover Jedi.
The choices you get here are so cool. All the ways you can be like, I'm actually lying when I say this evil Sith thing. You can get that specific in the vocal, in the prompts that you get.
Yes.
In little parentheses, lie. Love that. There's so many ways you can do this. This is the smallest planet, I think, but I think it's my favorite too. It is it's the most exciting Star Wars stuff going on here, I think.
I can make a case for all of them.
Yeah, I know. I think I just said Manon was my favorite a second in the last episode.
Manon's the one that doesn't have anything particular going for it, but I kind of love it for being the original KOTOR creation, and that it's not really beholden to larger mythos stuff. This Korriban,
monster.
A lot of this stuff is very cool, but it feels pretty EU at times, and
yeah, very, very.
It's maybe getting carried away here and there about being the dark mirror to the Jedi Enclave and Jedi training stuff.
No, it's fine. It's good. It's what it's supposed to be. It's.
It's good. You can triple cross people in this. You can do double bluffs. There's a lot of politicking here in a pretty condensed area. You can also come across Cartho Nassi's son, who he thought was dead, but it turns out he survived and joined the Sith. And could be a thing there where you have to prove to him that the Sith are really bad news, which seems a little crazy. They're pretty proud about how bad a news they are. And it's the top line of their pamphlet.
I had this was my favorite thing in the last replay, which, okay. So I don't know. We'll circle back to this probably, but this most recent time I played this for the first time ever, I did the full evil run. I did the most evil thing I could do. Usually I don't like doing that in a Bioware game because it seems too mean. For some reason,
it gets real mean here.
to the point of being hilarious. It
Yes.
is like, it's almost satire. It is satire, is what it feels like. It feels like a satire of the hero's journey, honestly, because it is just over and over, relentlessly refusing the call and refusing to do the right thing. And just like they give you 1,000 chances to pull it out. Like Karth keeps saying, "There's something in you," and you're just like, "No, fuck you, Karth. I hate you. I'm going to, as I did, I'm going to make you murder your son while you are in your underwear." That's what I did with Karth on Korriban. Ruined it for him. He was a mess for the rest of the game after that. And it was great. It was hilarious. It's a moment that really lands either side in a very different way, and emblematic of the whole game's very successful morality system. God, I love
Well, there's another thing that coming up here that is widely cited as the most evil thing that you can do in any of these BioWare games.
Also very funny. Yes.
Okay, so you get them, the Sith, to accept you as a new apprentice as part of your like initiation trial. They send you into a Sith tomb. Some fun stuff here where you're doing Tomb Raider Star Wars shit.
Yep.
And
those ghosts and stuff. Yeah.
Yeah, and beasts, and traps. Now, and puzzles. There are so the last star map is in this tomb that they send you into, and you get that. You come out. You can either have like allied yourself with one of the top two people at the Sith Academy and help them overthrow the other one, or you can just kill them both and then just roll through the entire Sith temple and slaughter everyone in there, up to and including Karth's son, if he's still there. You haven't got him out of there yet.
Yeah, that's the way to go. Yeah. Mm-hmm. I mean, you can kind of let your hair down either side in this particular area.
Yes. You can be full outside and still just turn the whole place into a charnel house. Yep. And it's great too, because you've been through there for the last couple hours, like talking to all these different people, trying to jump through all the hoops they're making you do as an initiate. And so you've had side quests with like 6 or 8 different people. I mean, there's like 5 other rivals of yours that you're trying to beat out, and all of them you can talk to and have them either, talk shit to you or, do like a Survivor style alliance for the time being with them. So anyway, as you're going through slaughtering everybody in this temple, like most of them are named people. It's not just Sith apprentice, Sith trooper. A lot of them are people that you have talked to and you're just mowing down. It's kind of great.
The amount of like evil backstabby politicking that you can do here. And everyone is evil and everyone is trying to double cross or triple cross or screw each other over. Like we can if we're together we can take her down. All that stuff. This is as good as I've seen it in any game. It's so much fun. It's so much fun to just screw everyone over, especially when you're dark siding, especially when you have no limit on how ridiculous you can get with the way you backstab. It's a blast to do this stuff.
You can torture prisoners. You can poison people's bathwater. There's lots of stuff there. So all right, but now we're ready for the end game. We got up all the maps ready for the coordinates. They're going to take us to the Star Forge. Oh, we didn't mention that. The Star Forge is the thing that we're trying to find here. It is sort of the Death Star of KOTOR, but they
kind of steal the idea in Rise of Skywalker. Actually, it's just sort of like, well, it's a planet that just spits out star destroyers.
Yeah,
it's just like, it just makes all the armaments you want and people to run them, I guess, and just turn on a button and you have a massive war fleet at your disposal.
Yes, it's an enormous, gigantic Death Star size factory that turns out ships. The cool thing about that too, though, is that it was created by, okay, let's start here. You follow the coordinates there. As soon as you get to this system and see the Star Forge up close, there is a disruptor field that causes your ship to crash on this planet. And this planet is populated by big bug-eyed aliens that
the best. Yeah.
You've seen in like the star map holograms and stuff as the people that built the Star Forge and the star maps, and that they had what they called the Infinite Empire like 20,000 years earlier, before the Republic came around. They're sort of a lost civilization. And their big weapon that allowed them to subdue the entire galaxy was the Starforge that built all their ships. And the cool part of that I think, especially if you're like trying to adapt this to movies or whatever, that Brevin and Malik find this and use it, and that means that their ships are like of a totally different design than anything people have seen previously. They're alien design, so you get to kind of create a whole new aesthetic there. So you crash on this planet. You find these bug-eyed aliens. They are sort of like barbarian tribes. They have devolved. It's great stuff.
They kind of just went full power, full dark side, and as a result crashed. Right. That's sort of the idea, that their civilization just ate itself. Full Roman Empire, as you say, and now they're just nomadic tribes fighting each other over just this one little planet.
Yes,
that's so cool. That's so great. Ultimate endpoint of a Sith society, I guess.
And there's some politicking back and forth. There's two like rival tribes there that you do one of the classic things all these RPGs do. You can choose to help tribe A or tribe B, or you can kind of Yojimbo them both against each other. And one way or another, you need to get something from one of the sides that will get you into this temple where you can shut down the disruptor field and have your ship take off again, and also have the Republic fleet not get taken out as soon as it shows up. So you go through this temple, you get to the top, and up on the roof, who shows up but Bastila, who has been turned to the dark side by Malik in her captivity, and is now saying, "Come on, you're the big bad guy. We all know it, and now I know it, and we can go take out Malik together." And you can either say, "Sounds good to me. Let's do it, babe," or you can say, "No. I think you can come back to the light." Blah blah blah. This up to this point too, if you're a male Jedi, but only if you're a male, because this was 2003, you could do a romance with Bastila, which I think is the reason why I think of, quote unquote, canonically Revan being the man, because I think that the Bachelor romance works better than the Karth romance.
Oh, for sure.
But those are your only options.
Yeah, I did female Revan last time I played it, and I was just like, well, I'm not romancing Karth, so I guess we're just not going to have sex in this run. That's, I think, the only way to do that. Well, I mean, especially if you're being evil and forcing him to kill his son in his underwear. So, it's not really, you can't really romance him and be evil, actually.
Well, you can, you can be a little schizophrenic and you could still save his son. But yeah, I think I'm pretty sure that the romance ends if his son dies for any reason.
I was very frustrated that I was not able to kill Karth in that run, actually.
Don't you do it at the very end?
No, he runs away. I mean, maybe there's a way to do it, but
on the beach, but he shows up on the Starforge again, doesn't he?
I missed him if he did. He just ran away from my game, and I was just like, God damn it! I really wanted to kill Karth.
I do light side for these things because I just can't. I can't maintain evil for 40 hours. It just
I know what you mean, and I thought I'd have a problem with it too, but I didn't. It was just really fun. It was really fun. Especially having learned all these character stories and having this prior relationship with Jolie and Karth and Bastila, to just shut them down at every turn and just be like, no, I'm not accepting your backstory. I don't care about you. and just telling them that to their face, and then they feel sad. It's hilarious. It's actually really funny. And like I said, it does feel like taking the piss out of Star Wars in a way I've never seen anyone else do, really, which is just, all the tropes and things you expect and to see in a Star Wars absolutely get turned on their head and just reversed.
Yeah, the Knights of the Republic 2 is a lot more pointed about deconstructing Star Wars tropes and sort of attacking them directly. Yes. I'm sure we'll talk. The Last Jedi will come up a lot during that episode. But I think you're right. It's more satirical this way.
Yeah.
If you do the dark side and it's like you're getting all the prompts of a Star Wars story and just refusing to participate in them.
Yeah, it is fun. It's legitimately funny. It did not upset me in the way that doing evil choices in some of these games will. Like in Dragon Age, I'm just like, why did I do this? Now I feel bad. This isn't fun. Oh, I just killed all those elves. Good. Okay. And this one's pure comedy. This one is the most worthwhile evil run of any game I've had, I think.
So if you are evil here, when
Yep.
you have this bachelor confrontation,
Yeah.
you can say yes to it, and you brought along Jolie and Juhani in this temple, assuming
Yeah.
Juhani's alive. And if so, their light side, they will not go along with you, and you'll fight them right there and have to kill them.
That's the bummer, is killing Jolie. That's
Yeah.
not much fun, no matter what.
But we're just getting started, because then you go back to your ship where it's crashed. You got every the parts you need to repair it, and you shut down the thing, so you're ready to go. And you reveal to everybody that, I mean, you've been dark side the whole game at this point, I guess. But now you're like, no, like, screw the Republic. I'm taking over. I'm just going to kill Malik and take over the entire Republic myself. And here's where you have the breaking point where the light side companions, the HK-47, the droid, well, both droids, there's a good droid and a bad droid, but they'll both follow you either way. Canderous will go along with you either way. But Karth, Mission, and Zalbar will not. And Karth runs away. I think, again, doesn't he kill him? I thought that was because it sets up a mandatory thing on the Starforge a little later, a final confrontation there. But the most evil thing in a Bioware game, according to a lot of people, is this: that you can order Zalbar, who has sworn a life debt to you. So he's kind of got to follow you no matter what, according to his thing. But he says, "Nah, even that, I can't go this far with you." But then you can do the Jedi mind trick on him, to order him with a Jedi mind trick to kill Mission, his little friend, who's there's a teenage girl, and he'll do it.
Yeah.
And it destroys him.
So awful about it. It's just, I mean, I feel bad laughing now, but I did laugh a lot at the time. It is so evil and so profoundly vile.
Yes, it's so horrible. It's like making Snoopy kill Charlie Brown.
Terrible. That is what it feels like, and it is. As a result, it is this extremely memorable moment. But at that point, you're all in. You've kind of just you've made your choice. You've crossed the Rubicon. You are the evil Sith character, and to do any other way would be a lie at that point. After all the evil shit I've said over the previous 40 hours, you got to go all in on it, and it's funny. It's funny. I'm afraid.
Well, I do like that they do commit to that at that point. There comes a point in this game okay, you're committing to the dark side ending here, and that means you have to slaughter half of your team because they're not down with it. And then we're off to the Starforge for the big final battle royale. The Republic fleet shows up to attack it. You land there, have to fight your way through to go confront, first Bastila, who is helping Darth Malak now because she's become his apprentice, using her battle meditation special Jedi superpower that lets her not quite hypnotize entire armies, but sway entire battles. It's video game kind of nonsense, but it means that there's sort of big stakes. The whole final battle hinges on which way she turns, so it's useful to that extent. So you fight her one more time. You can kill her. You can convert her back to the light side. You can, give her a kiss if you did the romance, and then you go fight Darth Malak. And bing, bang, boom! Either you have taken back the mantle of Dark Lord of the Sith and conquered the Republic, or you have saved the Republic and are, you get your medal from the general and the little Yoda Jedi figure, and there's a lot of fanfare and it's a good time. Okay, made it through the whole game.
Yeah, man. Yeah, it's the best. It's such a good. It's such an incredible final act of a game. Either way you play it, and I mean, I will say that last run through the Starforge pretty grueling. A lot of droids you got to fight in there. A lot of shields you got to burst through. And that last fight with Malak is no joke. It is a long one. I don't know if you this game at its best, but I'm so keyed in with the story that I'm fine with it.
This, tends to happen with these games. I think it's, a good part of the design is that by the end of the game, you're pretty grotesquely overpowered and can kind of mow through a lot of things. Like the Starforge is kind of grueling, but it's not super hard. I might have died a couple times going through there, but really it's sort of letting, like you said, letting your hair down and letting you just cut through dozens and dozens of enemies that had given you a lot more trouble earlier in the game.
If you're evil, you've got the lightning pretty strong at this point.
Yes.
You're just shooting lightning everywhere. It's a good time. Or just the death one, the one where you just like kill. It's like the Darth
Well,
Vader.
yeah, it's like the Force choke. The evolved version of the Force choke.
Yeah.
So that's Knights of the Republic. I think it does. Looking at this in terms of BioWare's style, like one thing I think it's be good to look at with all these is how do they like incorporate the sort of chosen one element of how your character has to be sort of this blank slate nobody, but also the most important person in the universe at the same time. I think the Revan reveal is one of the most brilliant ways of threading that needle that any game has ever come up with. It's not something you can replicate over and over again, but
it's the best one. Is the best one. The best use of that trope in any video game that I can think of, I would have to say. It is extraordinary. And it like you say, this is something that the becoming superpowered over the course of 60 hours is something that pretty much any RPG is going to truck in a bit, it's just something that you have to do. And this one to find a way to make it sort of the narrative linchpin, your character progression. That's why this is so brilliant. It's the use of the medium, the narrative twist itself is, it's on par with, what you would expect in a Star Wars story, honestly. Like there's going to be a twist, and it does a better job of emulating the invention of the original Vader one more than any other one has. But what really makes it so powerful is the way it's tied to the mechanics of the game and the progression. I mean, we're talking about this over and over, but that's I think if I had to make the argument as to why the one reason this game is what it is, I think it's that. I think that is the thing that is most exceptional and most notable and most innovative and influential about KOTOR.
I have to totally agree with you.
The characters are pretty good, though.
Yeah, well, there's one other thing I want to talk about just in terms of things all these games have to do or have to like feel out, and that's sort of the MacGuffins, which at a certain point, once they set you up in the game, teach you how to play it, assemble, at least a good chunk of your team, they turn you loose on the world to go explore and track down XYZ.
Treasure hunts.
And what that thing is, treasure hunts. And so in this case, it's the star maps is the thing that's chased down that you kind of know they're scattered about in this area, that area, and the other one. And how do we feel like that? Does that work well with this story?
Yeah, I mean, honestly, I think that it's a pretty good structure for a game. What makes it work here, I think, is that all 4 planets have their own narrative. That you're involved in 4 mega stories, that take 10 to 15 hours each to kind of get through. That are all put together, add up to the one larger story. I mean, this video game stuff. This is what makes it hard to adapt, I think. That's the tough thing. You can't just do episodic stories the same way in a film, or I mean, I guess a TV show could do it, but I don't know if that's the right fit either. I mean,
so I think you're right, especially after Rise of Skywalker. I feel like did an even worse version of this, like more video game, like it's sort of, they called them wayfinders there, whatever, but it's the same thing. And it was done even clumsier than in the actual video game version of it. I think that makes it a little harder to do it straight.
Actually, looking back, Rise of Skywalker does actually do shitty versions of a lot of Knights of the Old Republic stuff.
Yeah, I mean, I guess it's Knights of the Old Republic stuff. For me, it just struck me as, this is just crappy general video game stuff.
But Starforge.
Yeah.
You're right. You're right. It's
and there's probably more Force Ghosts than you really need. But that's one thing Knights of the Old Republic also introduced that was new, at least up to this time to me, that there were dark side Force Ghosts in this one. There were sort of like tortured spirits in the Korriban tombs. I mean, they weren't like huge parts of the plot or anything, but that was a novel twist on Star Wars lore for me up to that point.
I think that's the part of the deal. Like Sith don't want to be ghosts because it's bad for them when they're ghosts. Like they end up being shitty ghosts who aren't having any fun. If memory serves, there's probably a lot of contradictory Sith ghost information out there.
Yeah, I'm sure there is. So you mentioned, and then the other thing about all these games we're talking about is how would you adapt them to live action, whether it's a movie or a streaming series or whatever. I think all Bioware games are pretty like primed and ready for that. They're already trying to be cinematic storytelling pieces, even with the video game elements attached to them.
Yeah, like they're taking like elements that we're familiar with from movies. Really, obviously the Star Wars ones, but just the way narrative is told here and presented, and even to the extent that it's emulating camera shots from James Cameron movies. It feels like sometimes, just it's it's for people who have watched 80s adventure films. I feel like who grew up with Star Wars and the things inspired by Star Wars. Like this is about when video games are able to start doing that artistically. Like they more than just a score. They can kind of emulate the feel of it. And Bioware keeps doing this. Like the John Carpenter synth score in Mass Effect comes to mind, ways to make this feel more like familiar movie experiences that inspired them.
Oh man, that was something that I was thinking. We're still a long way from Mass Effect, but that I was gonna drop it when we talked about how to adapt Mass Effect. I was gonna say, "Oh, you're gonna love this great idea I had." Is get John Carpenter to actually do the score.
It'd be fantastic. It would be the best thing ever. Yeah.
Yeah. He's got these Lost theme albums that he's put out with his son over the last several years. Any one of them, they're like driving and creepy and a little futuristic, but they would be great Mass Effect.
Yeah.
But anyway, we're not talking about Mass Effect. We're talking about Knights of the Old Republic. And as it happens, I have a very detailed way that I would adapt this because I actually, as a young man, tried to teach myself how to write a movie script by writing Knights of the Old Republic scripts. And so
this is great. I love this.
All three of them. And, I don't stand by every line of dialogue from 15 years ago, but the basic structure of it, I think I do stand by, and I'll run it out for you. You can let me know what you think.
Yes,
of the broad strokes.
How do you solve the planets problem? How do you solve
okay. as a number one here, since doing this back in 2006 or whatever, when I started it, that was before like streaming series were really a thing. And since then, streaming series now, or at least just long form TV series, Game of Thrones style, whatever, is like, seems like a better fit for this type of storytelling in a lot of ways. And I honestly, like, I get more enjoyment out of a good long running TV series than I do out of even a good, movie franchise most of the time. So that's more of these Bioware things. I think Dragon Age and Mass Effect probably go that way more, but
for sure. Yeah.
Not just because I've already worked out in my head how you do it movie wise. I think because of the nature of the star maps are the stickiest wicket almost, and the nature of the big twist being something you can't get around, but also it's one that doesn't hold up to a ton of scrutiny in that once you learn who the hero is there, you're kind of faced with the thing of like, okay, but also shouldn't he be the most important, like most famous person in this entire world, and how is nobody recognizing him?
Well, he had a mask, you see. So
yes. So I mean, there's some stuff in my script that I trying to quickly establish that he like deliberately hid his true identity and tried to make himself into a symbol, sort of Batman style, that he was a symbol of the war effort and not it was deliberately not letting people know his true identity. And I think
so you approach this like it is a Star Wars trilogy, right? Like
yes.
So it's 1, 2, 3 films.
Yes,
and does the reveal comes at the end of the second movie? Seems like the
right. Of course,
place.
Yes. There's no other way to do it. But I do think, just generally speaking, that it's the thing that you want it to be a refrigerator question, right? Of how nobody recognizes him. And I think in a streaming series or a long form TV show, you have to live with that a little too long. I think we want to be moving quick through that third movie, and not have to deal with that too much, get bogged down with it.
I mean,
So I
can
think
you just
movies are still the
accept
way
it
to
in
go.
like a Superman wears glasses, and then he's Clark Kent kind of way? Is that doable in this case? He's like, well, he had a mask on. How would anyone know? I mean, I think that might be enough for a movie, not so much a series, as you're saying, basically.
Yeah. So anyway, but the basic thing goes. All right, first movie is basically all takes place on Terrace. It starts out with
Right.
the thing being attacked. You gather up the whole team. You're going around doing stuff. You got the big swoop race in there, and the big climax is the whole planet being destroyed as they're escaping. Um,
Mm-hmm.
and we go to Dantooine for a little denouement there, where they say, "Okay, now we're going to train you as a Jedi," and the training stuff can happen between movies because we've seen enough Jedi training at this point that we don't really need the whole thing.
That makes
Um,
sense. Yes. Uh-huh.
and part of the reason for that is too, Terrace is not everybody's favorite part of the game. A lot of people complain that it takes too long, uh, and I think that's true. It's the most tedious part of the game. It serves some purpose in that by the time you start getting your Jedi powers and your ship, you get your driver's license, uh, you really feel like you've earned the right to I own this galaxy now. I got my
Mm-hmm.
laser sword, I got my ride, and I can whip around wherever I want, and that's really satisfying. Partly because you were stuck in one place for so long there. Um, you know, the dungeons there could be better designed, but whatever.
For sure, for sure. And I mean, that's the thing that wouldn't be an issue. I mean, I like the idea of a Star Wars movie that takes place entirely in kind of like one city area. You
Well, I
know,
was a little
that's
concerned
really
about that.
cool. I think that's great.
I was a little concerned about the planet hopping thing seems so essential to Star Wars. This would be like the first Star Wars movie that really didn't move around much.
Mm-hmm.
But I just think
Yeah.
it's other than that, it's impossible to do a giant, literally apocalyptic set piece in the middle of the movie where they destroy the entire planet that we've been spending all our
Mm-hmm.
time on, and then start Jedi training, and then try and like wind up a new sort of plot line for the third act of like now we're going to do Kashyyyk in the third act. Like,
Right, you can't. But that, I mean, I guess my big question is, I think Jolie is a very important character. Does he show up in Terrace then? Do you introduce him earlier? Is it to get him on the board, or are we
no,
waiting? He's the Yoda of this, I suppose. Shows up in a
no,
second. Okay.
because I cut out Jolie and Kashyyyk entirely.
Oh my God! Oh, I understand why that would be the choice.
Okay, and so the reason behind that is that I thought four plans is just too much to try and do in one movie or even in two movies with everything else that has to be done, and also it just cuts down the number of star maps, the amount of MacGuffin chasing we have to do,
Mm-hmm.
and
I'm surprised you didn't cut Tatooine. Actually.
so my thinking there was, yeah, I got to cut one, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I didn't want to cut Manon because that was the new one. That's something that gives Knights of the Old Republic its own identity. So
Yeah.
we're not just only doing planets that we've seen before in other contexts. I didn't want to cut Tatooine because that's where you get HK-47, and we have to include him.
Of course.
And so I didn't want to try and figure out a reason why we needed him somewhere else and get him involved. I also thought this was at the time, pre several Disney Plus series that have taken us to Tatooine over and over again. I thought we do want to tie back to the original movies somehow, and
Yeah, you gotta have Tatooine.
it's yeah, and we're not going to get Mos Eisley, but we're tying it back there. Get some sand people in the mix. That's fun, and there's a opportunity for a big monster fight there, which try to
That's
include a
true.
monster fight in each movie.
I get all that. That all makes sense. In the Tatooine content is good. I just wouldn't. Kashyyyk is a place. I don't know. I guess they show it in Revenge of the Sith a little to
Yeah,
underwhelming results, but I always
that's
felt
true.
like I'd spend more time in Kashyyyk.
Well, ultimately,
Yeah,
what I decided though was the Kashyyyk, I think, storyline is the best of the planet storylines,
yeah,
but it's almost too good. In
yeah.
that,
You can kind of that would get bogged down and is very very removed from the larger plot in a way the others maybe aren't as much.
Yeah, and I want to keep things moving forward, and the focus on Darth Malak and the Sith as the problem.
Yeah,
And there's almost like two. I don't want the emotional core of the whole movie becomes about Zalbar at that
yeah,
point,
yeah.
because it's not going to, the emotional core is not going to be on Manon,
Hmm.
um, and the other way to keep things moving along, I am splitting up the team at the beginning of the second movie and sending the Hero and Bastila and T3 to Manon, and so they can do romance subplot stuff there on their lonesome. And the
Huh.
rest of the, Juhani is a part of mine thing, and she goes with Karth and missions Albar Candris to Tatooine. Um, and then we hook up. They both do things there, find their star maps, hook up together back on Tatooine, and get captured as they're leaving. Do the big reveal and everything there. Um,
Hmm.
sorry. To address your thing about Jolie, I ultimately decided I like Jolie's a really good character, but that ultimately I don't think the hero of Knights of the Republic really needs like an older mentor Jedi character, especially not at that point of the story. They don't need an Obi-Wan Kenobi showing up in the second movie.
Right, because he's Darth Revan for one thing.
Yeah,
Yeah,
and he's got the sort of mentor relationship with Bastila,
that's
which
true.
is weird, or like weirder, and because of there's a romantic element there, and also because she's younger than him, so her being the mentor is a little weird. And I thought that was a more interesting relationship than doing, oh, and here's an Obi-Wan you
Yeah,
can also have.
yeah, that's true. That is actually, especially if you're just kind of clarifying this thing, and can do densing it to a 6 hour format for the whole story. Then
Mhm.
yeah, the entire Gray Jedi concept kind of is just extraneous, I guess. I mean,
Yeah,
it's a lovely thing in the game that you can kind of ponder and think about, but narratively, yeah, you can pull that right out, and I think that's borne out by the way that Jolie just kind of disappears at the end of the game, whichever side you're on. Like his story is not the primal one for this, as interesting and important as he feels.
yeah. It turns out after the big reveal, he's just, yeah, I knew all along who you were, but I was
Yeah.
letting you come to things in your own time. And that's not a huge reveal that changes your relationship with him. It's
Right.
just like, oh yeah, okay, I guess then. um,
Uh-huh.
so yeah, so he's, I don't know, essential. Like, and if I was going to introduce him, I just want to kill him off. That's the
Yeah.
thing.
I mean, yeah. He kind of got to kill him off no matter what, even if you stay light side. Interesting. Okay. Wow, that is interesting. This is the thing, the challenge of adaptation. Something
Indeed.
like I would think going in, like, well, you can't cut Jolie. He's essential to what KOTOR is, but not narratively. That's right, and
That was
he
like that
kind
was
of
the hardest
grabs it
thing for
away.
me
Yeah.
was accepting that this is my favorite part of the game, but also doesn't fit in a movie format.
Huh.
Um,
Yeah. Neat.
so a third movie opens up with just sort of in media res. He's already at the last trial of the Korriban thing. We kind of skip over him infiltrating there because,
Hmm.
again, doing all that without bringing right front and center all the stuff about how does nobody, even like the Sith, not know what this guy looks like. I don't
True.
want to dwell on that stuff. So we just start off with an Indiana Jones sort of opening of tomb raiding there.
Hmm.
Get your monster fight in early because there's a beast, a Rancor
Yeah,
type beast in there.
Ghost Dragon or whatever. Yeah.
Yeah.
Hmm.
It comes out. They decimate they blow up the whole academy.
Those Force Eaters, right? Those things. I
Yeah,
forgot
yeah,
about
yeah,
those. Those are so cool. Yeah.
yeah. I mean, not
Uh-huh.
I use the same name, and I think in the script, but we're not getting into like their anti-force powers or anything. It's just a big
Sure. Yeah.
monster. Like you take away his lightsaber at the beginning of the trial to make it a challenge, so that he's not just
Hmm.
chopping him up
Those things are neat, though.
with laser.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right.
So we just have a kind of an opening action sequence there. I guess it's a little Jabba's palace, just that starting at enemy territory, and our
Right.
heroes come in and blow
Hmm.
the whole place up. And now we're off. We go to the Rakata planet, and go through pretty much all the rest of the endgame material that we just did.
Yeah.
I mean, I never considered doing this as a dark side thing
No,
for
no, no.
me.
Not, you couldn't as a movie. Oh God, no. Yeah, I mean that is the way to do this, I feel like. I mean this is a people have been asking for an adaptation of this. Like this is something that has always kind of been on the bubble of Star Wars consciousness because this is rightly understood to be one of the great Star Wars stories. So why wouldn't you adapt it? Why would you bother with this other shit when you have a perfect story right here? And of course, it's not exactly a perfect story for a film. It's perfect for this video game, and changing it and adapting it would be necessary. And you would have to make those kind of decisions. This is interesting. I do want to see it happen. Um, Still to this day, I think it has the juice. It has everything you need to be great Star Wars content. I guess my fear now would be it would just be churned out, for
Yeah,
a Disney Plus series.
I have
Uh,
trepidation in that
yeah,
they have not Disney has not figured out Star Wars.
no, I think you can say it decisively. Yeah, I the only thing I really think is better than like fine for the whole run is Rogue
Is Rogue
One.
One. Yeah,
Yeah, I mean Last Jedi's good, but it's got things. It's um, all of this, all the series, all the things they're doing now. It's just not. It can't get out of its own way, and I don't have faith in them to
but
pull this off.
this is such a perfect opportunity. It forces
Mm-hmm.
them to get out of their own way because it's taking you thousands of years away. That there
Mm-hmm.
are no Skywalkers or Palpatines or Kenobis to get caught up with. It seems like from a corporate perspective, such a great uh, you know waters to test, because if it doesn't work out, okay, it's this little Elseworld thing,
Yeah.
doesn't really tie in, doesn't contaminate anything else if it's a total flop, right?
Right.
Uh, if it does work, this is a enormous jackpot, the likes of which it's hard to recreate in like this franchise AP environment, because if you can get a completely separate Knights of the Old Republic franchise, no, sub franchise up and running,
Yeah.
then you can relieve pressure on the original timeline, because you don't have to keep churning out Boba Fett and Obi-Wan shows and Cassian Andor shows all on top of each other, and just you can alternate, maybe like do a Star Wars episode 10 one year, and then Knights of the Old Republic episode 2 the following year. And they're both Star Wars things, but they're separate enough that I liken it to, like, Disney could be running Marvel and DC simultaneously. They're both superhero things, work with a lot of same tropes, a lot of the same,
Yeah.
superhero stuff, but you get different heroes and villains in each one. And yeah, like it's not hard to see parallels between Captain America and Superman, but they operate differently in an action sequence. They have different supporting casts to deal with different villains,
Mm-hmm.
and it seems like not a no brainer, but an enormous great opportunity there to try out.
Well, if you are a Star Wars person at all, and you are a video game person at all, then you probably have incredible fond feelings for this game, for this particular story, this corner of the Star Wars world. So, like, who wouldn't be into seeing them at least give this a shot? I mean, could they ruin it? Of course they could, but on the one
Sure.
hand, who cares? And on the other, beyond that, this is the thing that really gets that Star Wars feel and energy and thing that it feels like they are perpetually chasing. This is proved to do that. Like
Yes.
this works for people. Everyone kind of agrees that yeah, this is what we want to
It
be.
seems like they're always chasing that and then missing it by hewing too close to the original, and
Yeah.
it it becomes it feels you can feel it being a Xerox instead of just like a thing that's influenced by that. And
This has
the
that.
games nail that exactly. It's the feel. It's
Mm-hmm.
you're not Luke Skywalker, you're not Han Solo, but you have an R2D2 and a Chewbacca and a Millennium Falcon. Like that, it's more than that, but that is the distillation of it. There's familiarity here, but it's not just Luke Skywalker Part 2 the way that Rey could feel like.
And these characters all have the potential to be breakout characters. They all can be great.
Mm.
Even Karth. Even Karth, you get the right actor. Karth works.
Indeed.
And there's slam dunks. Obviously, HK is going to work. Bastila is a great character. These characters will work if you get them all right. And that is a thing that they have a dearth of now. I mean, of the new Star Wars what's the most successful character they've introduced? They've tried so many. I guess the Mandalorian.
The Mandalorian and
Yeah,
Baby Yoda, does that
yeah.
count? Like, I
I
mean,
I mean, they're kind of a dual thing. It's and that is a basic character archetypes there. You know, that is, I mean, it's Daddy Warbucks and Little Orphan Annie to some extent. It's
I was gonna say Lone Wolf and Cub, but okay, sure.
yeah. Everyone in KOTOR blows them away, though.
Really like analyze character by character, but
we could spend an hour doing that. Yeah,
we definitely could have. And Battle is one that is like, man, could have been such a wet blanket character that, like, you know, or, you know, token love interest, very stock. It helps immensely that they got Jennifer Hale, who's like considered one of the best voice actors in video games.
Is that female Shepherd too? Is that right?
Yes, yeah, she did female Shepherd.
Right.
But just the character has shading that she's got, and also you find out she had a secret the whole time, which is you know, a gift for a character.
She avoids so many of the cliches that it feels like the new Star Wars is running into with strong female characters that don't land. Bastila lands. Bastila has all the interesting things about these characters just built in. Like, there's
she has
so
complexities.
Like
complexities are better than strength, is what I have learned from being dissatisfied with new Star Wars stuff.
Oh yeah, big time. There's nobody with complexity in the new sequel trilogy.
No,
there's no Poe Dameron has no complexity. You know, it's a mess. So
no, that's, you know, even Karth Onasi, like, people don't like him. I think there are shades there. That's one thing I remember being actually proud of my own writing in this case, of making Karth a central character that I actually like cared about. And
you get the right actor. Karth is wonderful. Yeah. Karth is great. I mean, and I don't even think the guy in the game is bad. I mean, it's going to make fun of Karth, but, you know.
Yeah. There's a thing too that they didn't do in the game that seems so obvious to me, at least to play out, which is that, you know, resolution there is that he is a widower and Mission is an orphan, and they develop a sort of, you know, surrogate father-daughter thing, and it's
do something with that. That's great. Yeah. Do we want to talk casting these off? Do we want to fan cast these characters a little bit for 2022? I kind of do. I'm kind of curious. Like, because I don't know, you got a perfect Bastila. I think Rose Byrne would be my first thought.
She was my first pick back in like 2007.
Is she too old now? She might be a little older now.
Yeah, because I think Bastila should be young. For me, my pick is Daisy Edgar Jones. From she was in Normal People and recently Under the Banner of Heaven.
Right.
She looks the part. Not that you really have to stick to like what the character models look like.
No.
For this, I mean, you can go any ethnicity you want. I do think age is a little important there to the dynamic that I like. That she is younger than the hero that she's supposed to be mentoring. I had also like considered Rose Leslie as a possibility. You know, Egret the Wildling.
Ooh, I like that. Yeah, that's cool. Oh, she'd be great.
The one that I would be most adamant about is, I mean, I guess you could stick with the original voice actors for the droids, but a lot of them are getting up there, I think. And for HK-47, I think Andy Daly is the way to
go. Yeah, he's great. Yes.
Love that guy. So underrated.
Perfect. That is perfect way to put Andy Daly in a Star Wars thing. That is excellent. Great choice.
I mean, a Star Wars droid is like one of the plum. It's like a thing. It's a comic actor. You have arrived when they let you do a voice of a Star Wars droid. You know, like Matt Berry. You know, he's like officially broken over in America by doing a droid voice on
a non-funny Star Wars droid. Yes. So weird.
Yeah.
That show, God. But that's you're not doing a better HK. Yeah, that's perfect. No. That's perfect. I don't know. Karth is the tough one, I think.
Karth, I think, could go a lot of different ways. I back in the again, he might have aged out of it by now, but 10 or 12 years ago, I had eyed on Jacob Pitts, who was Tim, the like sidekick on Justified, sort of like sniper martial guy.
Yeah. All right. Yeah.
He could be like 55 now, though. I'm not really sure how the timelines work out.
Yeah, I mean, my first thought was Cannavale, who would be too old now too. I mean, it's just the Rose Byrne thing, but yeah, he's got a son who's not very interesting. Maybe he could too.
But also, Karth is somebody who could be anywhere between like 33 and 55, I suppose, if you really wanted to.
Yeah, I mean, older Karth that'd be a good Cannavale, but yeah.
he also seemed like a place where you could put my new guy that I like to fan cast and things is Hamish Patel.
Ooh, yeah, yeah.
He's been good in a couple of things lately, and I
Uh-huh.
think get him in Star Wars. He's maybe not quite old enough to be the actual lead here, because for the Revan backstory to work, he needs to be like pushing 40, right?
Who is Revan then? Who is the
That's the one
perfect?
I don't
That's
have
tough.
a strong thing on.
He could be so many things. Yeah, I
Yeah,
mean, he's canonically a guy. If you want to do the Bastila romance with, I mean, I guess you could fuck with that now. But I think the game is sort of canonically intended for him to be a male character. Which,
yeah,
yes, of course, you could change. But
yeah. I mean,
yeah.
spoiler alert: I got Knights
Mhm.
of the Old Republic scripts too, Knights two, and I have male Revan and female Exile going for it.
Mhm.
But that's my canon. Um,
I think that's the actual canon, I believe.
yeah.
Yeah.
So I was fishing around. I was like, you
Mhm.
could maybe throw Stephen Yoon in there. Um,
Ooh, that's kind of cool. Yeah. That's not bad
uh,
at all.
yeah.
Um.
Wyatt Russell's great and everything. I don't. Maybe he's not quite
Mm,
old enough, or maybe he still comes off a little too boyish. I
mhm.
don't know. He can do.
He's
He hasn't done anything yet that I thought didn't work. So
That's pretty good. Wyatt Russell is pretty good. Yeah.
for Darth Malik, we can talk about Darth Malik. He's not the greatest villain, really. He's
No,
just a
he's
big bad heavy.
he's functional. And I think once you figure out who you are, his role kind of makes more sense.
Indeed.
That he is not the ultimate villain. He is the guy kind of biting at your heels a little, and who is kind of making his play.
I think just keep it simple. Alexander Skarsgård.
Sure. Yeah.
Boom. Done.
Yeah. Sure.
Um,
Yeah, he can do it. Anyway, yeah, it's fine.
yeah. Candrass is a big one for
Well, he has massive breakout potential as a
huge
character.
potential, and he's a big deal in Knights of the Republic 2 as well. So
Yes. Uh-huh.
now
Oh,
he
well, that could
also
be Cannavale too, actually.
it could be
Yeah.
that could be kind of Vale. And the problem is, though, I think if you're trying to be kind of realistic about it, is that
Hmm.
he's got breakout potential, but still, if you're reading the script here or looking at it on the page, like he's going to be like sixth banana. Like
Yeah.
so you're like it'd be great if you could get Idris Elba or John Bernthal to do it, but it might be
Mhm.
hard for the like to get them like no, like you're never going to be more than the fifth most important person, but you're going to be in six of these things. So I also, having recently watched RRR and been rewatching Rome, I was like, you know what?
Yeah.
Could use some more Ray Stevenson in my life.
Who? Oh, yeah, he could do it. He
Eminently
certainly could.
gettable.
Yeah. I mean, he would do it for sure. He would. Yeah. That's a good one. I mean, look, yeah. I mean, to some extent, these characters are so good that I feel like a lot of people could be successful at them if the script is there and the development of them is there. They are on paper very strong and they play to people's personas very well. I mean, I think that's why this is that you have multiple options here. Like you could be like, well, a lot of people could succeed at this role. There's also room within those to be completely defined by an actor
And
bringing something special. Like
totally.
Doc Brown. Doc Brown from Back to the Future is a great role that is completely elevated and defined by the performance of the role. Like a lot of people could have succeeded with that role, and one guy did. Like so that feels like you have a lot of that kind of character in this. And part of that, I think, is just that the thing captures the 80s Amblin Spielberg vibe so well because it's doing Star Wars.
Yeah, a few of the characters are more defined. Like I have a clear idea of what I want from Bastila or Candrass than I do like Calo
Mhm.
Nord. I think you need to really you got to leave up his look entirely.
Cal Nord can be a helmet, honestly.
Yeah,
Just
or you can make him into an alien too.
yeah,
It could be
just a
a Vandal,
design
it could be
element.
anything.
Yeah.
But if you're going to keep just a bounty hunter, and I'm thinking that that's a great place to just insert Zahn McLaren into a Star War. Let him do
Sure,
a
you
bounty
can
hunter
do that.
thing.
Yeah.
Um,
Mhm.
I have two other things that I noted down.
Yeah.
One, if you were ever going to include Jolie, I think you got to give it to Lance Reddick. Uh, Maybe
Right.
that's being a little too literal with like the look of the character, but I mean,
I'd
fucking
kill it.
nail it.
It'd be amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah. He's a perfect
And
guy
you've
to play
already
a
put
Jedi.
Giancarlo Esposito in Star Wars, so yeah,
No, I think Reddick's better for Jolie. I think that's perfect. Give him a
perfect.
little
Yeah,
little little salt and pepper goatee. He's that exactly. Yeah, and such an interesting actor too. Like he needs more big studio IP work. Like what's his biggest thing? Is John Wick, right? How
So
come he's not in the
yeah,
Marvel verse yet? He should play
that
an
is a good
alien.
question. He
Yeah,
should be an Eternal, you're right?
yeah.
Or an Inhuman, whatever their new thing is, a Celestial. It could be any of those things.
Yeah, that's weird. It hasn't happened, honestly. I guess
I
he's
know.
now in the Resident Evil thing on Netflix.
Oh, really?
That's where he's stuck now. Yeah.
It's a bummer IP.
Yeah.
The last one I wanted to throw out is for Saul Kareth. Thought, let's get Patrick Fabian in here from Better Call Saul. He could also be like just Jedi Master number 3. Any of like in the Knights of Part 2 Jedi Masters
one of the Imperious
down.
guys. Yes, that's
yeah.
That's pretty good. Yeah, that would be fun. Yeah. Okay. Is there anyone that we left off there that I must?
Well,
I must
Mission is going to be buried under prosthetics.
I don't care who Mission. So. A lot of people can play Mission. It's fine.
But it's also she's got to be a young girl, so it's like somebody untested. I mean, who are we going to say Millie Bobby Brown or something? Like, it doesn't matter. Like,
no,
it should be a newcomer, really.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah. That okay. Well, that was, I guess, the last major party member that I need to speak.
I think that's everybody. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Andy Daly.
I think we did it.
That's my favorite. We did it.
No, Andy Daly was the best. We finally made it through Knights of the Old Republic. We're going to reconvene for Knights of the Old Republic 2, which I don't know if it's a better video game, but is maybe my favorite Star Wars story, hands down. I mean, if they're taking Empire Strikes Back out of the mix.
Yeah, as great as Knights of the Old Republic 1 is, there is just this incredible depth and creativity to Knights of the Old Republic 2 that, I mean, it's not even a Bioware game, and we're going to talk about it. It's and even this first game, I feel like I could speak another 4 hours on various parts of it.
Absolutely.
But that next one,
2 especially,
how to approach.
It's got an antipathy for a lot of Star Wars lore that is a great counterpoint to having just done 50 hours of very traditional Star Wars stuff in the first game, and only feels like more fresh and vital in a way in the Disney Plus streaming era of Star Wars, where we seem to be locked in to this rut of just recycling the most minor bits that haven't been strip mined yet.
I feel like that these games are the proof of concept that Star Wars can be more than what it has been. Like,
exactly.
I mean, if you remove yourself from like after 1983, like after Return of the Jedi comes out, nothing has come close to the level of the originals. Like nothing in the entire run of Star Wars media, except these 2 games. These are the only things that kind of really capture the imagination and capture that feeling of just wild creativity and exploration and discovery that you get from those original movies. Like the world is just so fascinating. You want to hear all about it. You want to have these long conversations with characters about what the Force means to them, because it's all illuminating. It is all just so edifying and so exciting. Like nothing else, none of the movies have captured this quality.
I've talked to you about this before. I think that despite not liking an increasing preponderance of the Disney Star Wars stuff, like Rogue One stands out to me as this proof of concept. It's not even that well done of a movie. It's messy in a lot of ways, but it hits the beats of as a proof of concept that there is more to be mined from this concept, from this world, and you could be doing that even as Boba Fett and Obi-Wan Kenobi, the shows, get farther away from that. But you're right. It's more than Rogue One. It's these games that have me remaining convinced, no matter how many of these streaming series disappoint me, that what, there is more blood in this stone if you just approach it, if you flip it over the right way.
The potential
come out from the other end.
It is 100% there. If you can just find a way to access it, if you can find a way to crack the nut, you can get at the really gooey center of that is what is so exciting and has so much.
That's what I think Knights of the Republic 2 does so well, and I'm really looking forward to talking about that with you.
All right, well, we're going to. I finished it just recently, so I'm fresh on it now. Probably won't be by the time you finish it because it's a long one. It's
I could do it tomorrow. We'll schedule that for the summer.
All right, cool. Counting on that then. Thank you, Al. This has been wonderful. I've really enjoyed revisiting this game. All right, and
glad I made you do this.
Oh, very quick, very quick. What are your expectations for the remake of Knights of the Old Republic that is coming out within the next year?
Oh, I don't know. I haven't played any remakes yet. I think when we get to Mass Effect, that'll be my first time like actually playing a remake or a remaster.
Well, that's a remaster. This will be the KOTOR is a remake, so it's going to be probably a different fight system. It's going to be completely updated. I'm going to have to try it. Going to have to play it. See what they come up with. Is it going to be new audio recording for the dialogue? I'm so curious. It would have to play the same goddamn game again.
If it is just like a reskin, like, oh no, this is the same terrace map but with more pixels, then that's going to be a little deflating.
I don't think that's what it is. I think it is a ground up remake. Very curious. Probably just be an action game, but whatever.
If it is, we'll have to do an episode on it.
Yeah. Well, I'll give it a shot. Okay, cool. Right. So, until then, closing the book on Knights of the Old Republic.
May the Force be with you.
And also with you. Yeah. You know, the Sith version of that is "May the Force serve you well." I learned that from KOTOR.
Oh, that's a really good bit of the Sith stuff flipping it on its head.
Yeah, that's what they say instead. So cool.
But you did the dark side version, so you can tell me that. I'm still going to tell you the Force be with you because I'm a goody two shoes in the video game context.
May the Force serve you well.